So our composting loo. We've had a few questions about it, especially from our #1 fan, Manfred Schmalbach. Hey Manfred. He is a fellow composter convert, and I think along with our big anchor, it's probably one of the best things we've put on the boat. Our old loo, when we got the boat, just sucked in seawater and dumped everything overboard. But it didn't seem very reliable, and sometimes it didn't suck in seawater, sometimes it seemed to suck back up other stuff, and it just wasn't really working very well for us. So we started doing some research into what sort of loo we could have, and everyone who had a composting loo seemed to really rave about it. So we decided to go down that route. Now there are other options, obviously. If you need a holding tank, then that might be your only option. And some people seem to get along really well with the Jabsco pump out toilets. There's a few different composting loos out there, but if you were on a really tight budget, then you could probably build one yourself. And I think if our loo, if anything happened to it, I'd probably just build one myself. So the main point about a composting loo is that it separates out the solids from the liquids. When the solids and liquids are mixed together, they make sewage, which is really disgusting and stinks. So by separating them out, you have the wee, which goes straight overboard, and that's sterile, and then the solids, which go into a separate container, and they're dried out, which turns them into compost. So our liquids go straight out overboard through a through hole, and our solids go into a lined bucket with like a bin liner in it. Our one doesn't need any sawdust, but some of them do. But we do have to put vinegar in the liquids outlet, otherwise it gets this kind of calcium stuff in it, which is pretty gross. Our loo came with a sort of big bottle container, which means that if we're in an area with zero discharge, then the liquids can go into that. There's a fan which is connected straight to the toilet housing, which we put in some ducting for to draw the air out of the loo, which dries out the solids. And once every 3 weeks or so, we take the shit bag to shore and just throw it in the normal garbage. The last solids to be deposited into the shit bag probably won't be completely composted by that point, but from what I've read, as long as they've started drying out, then over time they should compost down. The installation of the Simploo was pretty easy. It slotted in where our old sea toilet went, but I did have to cut quite a big hole for the venting in our deck. Now our deck's very thick fiberglass, and I only had a 12-pound drill from Argos with a massive hole saw on it, so it took most of an afternoon, but I got there eventually. The fan doesn't draw very much current, and you can barely hear it, so it doesn't really have any impact on our electrical supply, and there's no sort of smell or anything beyond what you'd normally get if someone had just used a bathroom. And I think if we got a different boat, then we'd almost certainly get the same loo or build one, so 100% recommend it.
When I first heard of composting loo, I thought they were maybe a little bit disgusting without knowing anything about them. But as soon as I did a little bit of research and understood the science behind them, I was sold. I read some people's accounts on how they used them and how happy they were with them. And it was people on land in America. And I was completely sold. We've now had ours for about a year, and we wouldn't change it for the world. It's so much better than the electric loo that we used to have. The only thing for women is you need to kind of get used to it, because you kind of need to learn how to aim. And that takes about 3 to 5 days, so you just need to learn how to sit on it in the right position, basically. But after then you're totally fine, and it's as comfortable as any normal loo. And of course it takes regular cleaning, just like any other marine loo.
Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to leave your questions in the comments. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more sailing videos.